Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive into the fascinating world of money.
Oh, yes.
Specifically, the idea of sound money.
Right.
You sent us this intriguing article from the Future Freedom Foundation, and let me tell you, it's a real eye-opener.
It is.
We're going to dig into some history,
Oh, yeah.
unpack the core arguments about sound money, and see how it all connects to the economy we live in today.
Okay.
Fasten your seatbelts, because this is quite a ride.
Yeah, you know what I find fascinating is how this article takes what could be a dry economic topic
Right.
and makes it feel so relevant by grounding it in history.
Right, like they kick things off with this image of kings in the olden days, literally clipping the edges of gold and silver coins.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine?
What?
We're talking about an early form of insider trading.
It's such a vivid illustration of something the article calls monetary debasement. This idea that throughout history, rulers have been tempted to manipulate money for their own benefit, often at the expense of their citizens.
And you know what? It makes the whole trust the government thing a little bit harder to swallow, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, hold on, hasn't this always been a thing?
Well, the article argues that this historical context is essential to understanding the Founding Fathers' views on money.
Okay.
They weren't just making things up in a vacuum.
Right.
They were directly responding to the abuses of power they'd witnessed.
They're like, we just fought a revolution against the king who controlled the money.
Right.
We're not making that mistake again.
Exactly. They knew firsthand that whoever controls the money has immense power, and they were determined to limit that power within the new American system. They insisted on anchoring the nation's monetary system to something tangible, something resistant to manipulation, gold and silver.
Okay.
They even enshrined this principle in the Constitution.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about taking a stand.
Yeah.
But then if we fast forward a bit, something pretty major happens in 1913, doesn't it?
1913 marks a pivotal year, according to the article.
Okay.
This is when the Federal Reserve was created, which ultimately represented a significant shift away from that original vision of a decentralized monetary system backed by precious metals.
Okay, let's unpack that a little.
Okay.
Why was the creation of the Federal Reserve such a big deal? What did it change?
To understand the significance of the Federal Reserve, we need to think back to the concerns of the Founding Fathers.
Okay.
They feared centralized power, especially when it came to money. The creation of the Federal Reserve, while intended to bring stability to the banking system, ultimately placed more control over the money supply in the hands of the government.
And this is where we start to see a departure from the sound money principles the article is talking about.
Remember those kings clipping coins?
Yeah.
Well, printing money can be seen as a modern version of that same impulse. By moving away from a system anchored to something tangible like gold, the door was open to a system where the value of money could be more easily influenced by government policies. And this move away from a decentralized system leads us to another compelling story from the article.
Okay.
The tale of President Roosevelt and the great gold grab during the Great Depression.
Oh, man, that's right.
Yeah.
It's like something out of a movie.
It is.
Suddenly people are being told to hand over their gold to the government.
It was a dramatic move, for sure, and one that the article highlights as a turning point in American monetary history.
Okay.
Roosevelt argued that confiscating private gold was essential to combat the economic crisis.
Right.
But the constitutionality of such a move is still debated today.
Right.
What's important for our deep dive is that this decision solidified the shift away from a gold-backed system and gave the government much more direct control over the value of money.
So it's like taking away the gold standard wasn't enough. They had to literally take the gold too.
Right.
That's wild.
Yeah.
But what about silver?
Sure.
I mean, I remember my grandparents talking about silver dollars like they were a normal thing.
Right.
Do we just decide to stop using silver for money?
You've hit on another fascinating aspect of this story. The article traces the gradual phasing out of silver in American currency.
Okay.
Silver coins, once a significant part of our monetary system, slowly disappeared from circulation, replaced by the alloyed coins and paper money we use today.
And why is that important?
Well,
What does the phasing out of silver have to do with this idea of sound money?
the article argues that these changes, the shift away from gold and the phasing out of silver,
Right.
weren't just random events.
Okay.
They were part of a larger trend toward a system where money is more easily manipulated by those in power.
Okay.
By moving to paper money and eventually to digital currency, governments gained the ability to print more money whenever they deemed it necessary.
And that brings us back to those kings clipping coins, right?
Exactly.
Like the modern version of that same old trick.
Precisely, the article argues that the ability to print money without any tangible backing can lead to inflation, which erodes the value of your savings and makes it harder to plan for the future.
Right.
Remember, sound money is supposed to be a stable store of value, something you can rely on.
So what you're saying is that moving away from a system backed by something tangible like gold or silver has real-world consequences.
Exactly. The article connects this directly to the economic struggles many people are facing today.
No.
When the government can print money freely, it often leads to excessive spending, mounting government debt, and ultimately inflation.
Right.
And who bears the brunt of inflation? Ordinary people.
It's like this hidden tax that nobody talks about, right?
Yeah.
Because the government isn't raising taxes directly.
Yeah.
They're just quietly devaluing the money in your pocket.
You've got it. And the article argues that this is a direct consequence of abandoning sound money principles.
Okay, so this is all pretty bleak.
Well,
Is there any light at the end of the tunnel?
well,
Does the article offer any solutions to this rather depressing situation?
well, the article wouldn't be a deep dive without exploring some potential ways out of this, right?
Right.
And it does offer a solution, albeit a radical one.
Okay.
It introduces us to the work of Friedrich Hayek, a Nobel Prize-winning economist who proposed a revolutionary idea,
Okay.
the denationalization of money.
Denationalization of money.
Yes,
That sounds pretty intense.
it does.
What exactly does that mean?
Hayek believed that the root of the problem lay in the government's control over money.
Oh.
His solution:
Yeah?
get the government out of the money business entirely. He argued for a system where private institutions would be free to issue their own currencies, competing for users in an open market.
So instead of having one central bank, we could end up with a whole system where different banks or even companies are issuing their own currencies.
Yeah, it's a radical departure, no doubt.
It's a mind-blowing concept.
Hayek argued that by introducing competition into the market for money, we could create a more stable and efficient system, one where the value of money is determined by market forces, not government decree.
So instead of debating about which political party should be in charge of the Federal Reserve, we'd be comparing the merits of, say, Apple bucks and Amazon coins.
You're getting the gist of it.
Right.
Imagine a world where you could choose the currency you trust the most, based on its stability and track record.
Right.
That's the kind of free market approach Hayek envisioned.
Wow. It's certainly a lot to wrap your head around. But I have to admit, after learning about the history of money manipulation, the idea of taking that power out of the hands of the state is pretty intriguing.
It's a thought-provoking proposition, and the article doesn't shy away from the potential challenges and criticisms of such a system.
Right.
However, it emphasizes the need to consider bold ideas, especially when faced with the economic problems that plague our current monetary systems.
This entire deep dive has been quite the journey. We've gone from kings clipping coins to the possibility of a future where money is entirely separated from the state. It's definitely made me question some assumptions I had about money.
That's the power of deep dives like this. They challenge our thinking and provide new lenses through which to view the world. This article doesn't just tell a story, it sparks a conversation, a debate about the very nature of money and its role in a free society.
So where do we go from here? What does the future hold for money?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the article doesn't pretend to have all the answers,
Right.
but it does leave us with some essential questions to ponder.
Okay.
Can we envision a future where money is truly decentralized? What would be the benefits and challenges of such a system?
Right.
And most importantly, what kind of monetary system will best serve the needs of individuals and promote a free and prosperous society?
Those are definitely questions worth wrestling with. And I have to say, after this deep dive, I'm feeling a lot more informed and a lot less confident that I have all the answers.
And that's a good thing. The more we learn, the more we realize how much more there is to discover. And in the complex world of money and economics, embracing that sense of curiosity and open-mindedness is more important than ever.
I couldn't agree more. This has been a fascinating exploration of sound money and its implications. A big thank you to you for walking us through this complex topic, and to our listeners, keep those questions coming, keep those minds open, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.